Hi, welcome and welcome back to A Spiritual Life, where I'm here to help you move from your head to your heart, to move from surviving to thriving, and to live a more conscious spiritual life. Today's talk is about judgment, and we're going to talk about what judgment is, how and when it starts, judging ourselves, and how mindfulness can help with this. Lots to talk about, so let's dive in. Okay, so what is judgment? Let's dive in. This is a definition from English Oxford Living Dictionaries, and it says the ability to make considered decisions or come to sensible conclusions. So this implies that we actually think when we judge, a considered decision. But quite often you might find we make snap judgments of people or things. And a lot of that will come, again, from our ego and our survival. Is this person or thing going to put me into danger? So there is an element of the safety element around that and survival. There is a point to it to some degree. But really, in this day and age, judgment can cause so much other problems. I've got a little story here about, just to show you that and to show you our snap decisions. So there's a puppy in the woods, and this woman's walking past. She sees this puppy. She thinks, oh, I'm going to go and see this puppy, go out to stroke it, and it snaps at her, goes to bite her. So she's alarmed, she jumps back, she's like, oh, that vicious puppy, whatever. That instinct judgment comes in. And then she stands there for a few more minutes and then realises that the puppy's in a trap. It's got something tied around its leg and it's struggling, it's hurt. So then she goes, oh, poor puppy, and she goes to help it, free it, and off you go. You can see in that little story alone how we flip from one thing to another. So positive, oh, a little fluffy cuddly dog, cute, to, ow, it bit me, oh, I don't like it anymore, it's vicious, I don't like it, judgment, to, oh, it's trapped, I can understand now why it acted like that, I'll go and help it, I'll go and comfort it, I'll go and free it. So we've gone from positive to negative to positive in a second. Because initially we didn't get the full story, right? When we get the full story, we can put it all together and understand people better and judge less. So that's, or have non-judgment, which is the definition of mindfulness in the first place, paying attention to the present moment without judgment. So that's why we're talking about judgment today. So I've got a few notes because it's quite a big topic, so bear with me while we're flicking through all these. So that's what judgment is, and a little story analogy to bring you on board and understand a little bit on that. And so when and how does judgment begin? When does it start? How do we get all caught up in judgment in the first place? So if we look at this sort of egg timer thing, forgotten the name of it. You can see it's bigger at the top, it gets narrower, and it's bigger at the end. Yeah. So if we look at this, and this represents when we're born, and this represents when we're getting into our teen years, and this filters back out again to our old age. Okay. So when we're born to approximately 5 to 6 years, this is when we're our true self. Our babies, our toddlers, don't come into the world thinking about what other people think of them. They're not caught up in judgment. They're the true self. But when we go from around about a little bit more, a little bit older than sort of 6, and we're into the teens, you can see it's getting narrower and narrower. So by the time we're at teens, we get caught up in judgment and conforming. And I heard something recently which made me understand a little bit more about teenagers. Now, I can't really preach on this too much. My daughters are still young, only 3 and 7. So, but I did hear this, and it said teenagers start rebelling when they get to that age, because that's when we were in tribes and we were in a community, that's when they would sort of leave their parents, leave their nest, and go make their own nest and go out and seek others. So the whole conforming thing makes sense, because they're turning their back almost on their parents and going to find their own life and make their own life, and they've got to go and find their own tribe to then go and reproduce. So that makes sense now, doesn't it? You can see why they're having the battles with the parents, because they're about to flee the nest in some respect. That's where we're rooted into. You know, we're going out to find our tribe. So we need to conform. We need other people to like us. So that is when we're least like ourselves, because we want to be like other people, because we want to be liked by other people, because it's our survival. It's back to ego. It's our survival that people like us and take us into their tribe at this time. And then, I don't know, sort of, I mean, what have I written down here? 20s to 30s, this stage probably continues to some degree. Well into our late 20s to 30s, some people it's even longer. So from teens into 20s, 30s, it can still be, but it's sort of coming out. You can see it's starting to come out here. And by middle old age, when we're out here, middle to old age, by this age, people are less bothered about what people think, or at least they don't let it affect their life as much. You might hear old people saying, I'm too old to care what other people think of me now. I just do my own thing. How liberating is that? I use this analogy of, have you ever been to a wedding and there's older people in the wedding, and they might have had I'm going to stereotype, they might have had a little sherry, or, you know, just a little tipple of something, and, or even not. I mean, that's the point. They don't even have to have had a drink. They just get up, do the thing, say what they say, and they're not bothered, because they're being their true self. It's not to offend anyone. I'm not saying people get bitter and old and twisted and diss out everybody when they get older, but they're not bothered what people think. You know, they might say the odd thing that you'd think, whoa, you would never say that because you're somewhere in here still. Yeah, but when you get older, you want to be back here. It's like that circle. You come full circle. So you come back to your true self. Now this next bit here is something I found on the internet. It was on YouTube. Check her out. It's Caroline McCoff, and she talked about perception and ego and self, and she did this diagram here, and the outside circle is perception, what everyone else thinks of you. The inner circle, moving in, is persona, and that's what you would like everyone else to think of you. So what everyone thinks of you and what you want others to think about you. Then the next one in is the ego. We're back to that ego again. What you think of you is this next one. What you think of you. And then the middle one, self. It's always been there. Back to that true self. Even despite this time, it's always still there. The thing is with this, they're not fixed, right? We can move this around so the self can be bigger. What you think of you can be bigger. And then that perception of what everyone else thinks of you and persona, what you would like everyone else to think of you, can get smaller. So that was quite a good indication of what's going on here with our ego. So what others think of us and what we think of us is the perception. Why do we think like this? So we've got media, we've got society, we've got industry. They all tell us we need to be happy, or how we need to be happy. And it is more readily accessible to us now. We're more exposed to this. Because we've got so much social media, haven't we? In particular, social media. Technology on our devices all the time. We're getting constantly bombarded with this information of telling us how we should be and feel and what we need. Industry. So with the increase of media, social media, we've got more access from industry to our lives, like adverts, right? Adverts say we need to buy this face cream to look less old. But this advert's got a 20-year-old with no wrinkles. And we know this. Cognitively, we see these adverts and we know that that cream's probably not going to do anything. I mean, look at the girl that they're advertising on. You know, we're not stupid. But because we're constantly getting bombarded with this, it goes into our subconscious. And so we do take it on board, even if we don't actually consciously believe it. Society, so due to both media and industry, society then believe that this is the right way to live. So when we get bombarded with it enough, the society as a whole believes it. Things like if people aren't on Facebook, or if they're not on social media, or if they don't have a phone, for example. Some people still don't have phones. People think that's weird. There's a judgment there. It might be okay if older folk don't have a phone. There's a judgment there. So a few more examples. Starting a new business and you're thinking about reputation. Learn to accept people's judgments will happen. You have the choice to listen to it, respect it, and do something about it in a kindly way, or just let it go. This is a really big quote that I took, and I'm glad I found it again because I couldn't find it. Write it down, get a pen and paper, pause the video, get a pen and paper. This is huge. My need to be heard is greater than my fear of being judged. My need to be heard is greater than my fear of being judged. Your passion, your voice needs to get out there to tell the story, to tell it how it is. What's stopping you? Judgment. Judgment stops us. I can't do a YouTube channel. I can't go and set up a business. What will my friends think? What will my family think? If that's what you're passionate about, just do it. Work around the judgment. Mindfulness helps. Another one is holding on to what someone said to you recently or many years ago. Whether it was someone you trust or not. Is it true or just someone's opinion? For example, I was told I was negative and it always stuck with me and knocked my confidence. Has this ever happened to you? I didn't even know what the term negativity was back then. I was like, it was 25 years ago or something like that. Someone said I was a negative person. I was like, what? None of my friends and family mentioned it. No one ever talked about someone being a negative person 25 years ago. But it always stuck. And then when I realised what it was, I was like, oh, how can I get out of that? Like, and that was I brought it on as a belief that I was a negative person. When you can just say that, okay, someone's got an opinion about that. Let them have that opinion. I don't feel like that. My friends don't feel like that. I've got my own network of friends. I've got my own tribe. It doesn't matter what that tribe thinks of me. I'm safe. I'm secure in me, being me. Similarly, with values and beliefs, does what you believed years ago still resonate with you today, or is it affecting your present? So my example of this is having kids equals no life. It was my perception of my mum's belief that she put onto me without knowing, and it led to me not wanting kids. And it wasn't until 35 that I realised that was not my belief. So a belief becomes a judgment can become a belief. We take it on board from what other people have said. And then we've got to decipher what's ours. And again, that's how mindfulness can help us do that. So another quote, another one for your pen. If we live by people's compliments, we die by their criticism. If we live by people's compliments, we die by their criticism. And that's by Amy Bateman. Amy spelled A-I-M-E-E, Bateman. And she's an employment expert, consultant and columnist. Can you say that? Yeah, if we live by people's compliments, we die by their criticism. So if all you're doing is living your life looking for the outside to give you recognition and reward, then that, when it turns, will actually be the killer of you, right? So that was a good one. Most people will sleepwalk until something happens to wake us up. Now, I'm a massive advocate for this. Don't sleepwalk. This was Caroline McCoff as well, who did this. Most people will sleepwalk until something happens to wake us up. So that is what I advocate for. Don't sleepwalk through your life. Don't wait for the big events. Don't wait for something to wake you up to put this stuff into practice. Do it now. So you've got it when the big stuff happens. So next we go on to judging ourselves. And today I actually came across this quote. The way you judge others is how you judge yourself. The way you judge others is how you judge yourself. And we call that the mirror, showing the mirror up. So if you constantly think about your weight, you will no doubt, whether consciously or subconsciously, when you're out and about, be looking at other people and their weight and judge it in some way, shape or form. Now it might be, oh, she's just as big as me, or look at her doing that, she shouldn't be doing that when she's that big, or I wish I looked like her. So if you're having those thoughts and judgments about other people, it's likely you're having them about yourself. So you can see how working with ourselves can stop the judgment with other people too. And likewise, if you notice yourself doing it on the outside, you can work on yourself too. So what we think of ourselves is key. If we don't like ourselves, then we are onto a losing battle. If we like ourselves, then at least we know for sure that one person does. Yeah? So if we can't like and love ourselves, then we don't have any control over anyone loving ourselves, loving us. But if we love us, then at least we know one person does. And you know what? That one person that does will love us the right way, the way we want, the way we need. So let's start there, because it's the only thing we've got control over. But how do we speak to ourselves? With kindness or criticism? What is the tone? Gentle and encouraging or harsh and blunt? What is the volume? Sound or loud? Soft or loud and shouty? Is there an inner critic or an inner friend? We judge ourselves, we can change. We judge others, we can change. We think we know what other people think of us. How can we? How can we know what other people are thinking of us? We can't change this, so stop worrying about it. It takes away our present moment and peace. Do you know what? People are too busy worrying about their own thing. So when you're worrying about what other people are thinking of you, they're too busy thinking about themselves. And even if they are thinking about you, it'll be for a split second and then they're back onto themselves again. So really, it's not worth you worrying so much, so long, for a couple of hours, days, years. People do this for years, where they're thinking what other people are thinking about them. And it makes you constricted, contracted. You're not liberated and free because you're bothered about what other people think about you. So now we know when judgment is useful and when it isn't. How do we change? Before we come on to that, actually, I've got some words here from a song, which is quite relatable to what we're talking about here in Judgement. So this is Spiral by Alanis Morissette. I don't know if you've heard the song. Go and check it out if you haven't, because it's really quite, it just says it all. So I'm just going to read it to you and just see what you think. I could be daydreaming, but for a moment, and somehow they're creeping back in. I could be sleeping, awakened, the torrent. Somehow I get caught in their grips again. And here I am in my shame spiral. I'm sucked into it again. And I reach out for your benevolent opinion, and you bring the light back in. Don't leave me here with all these critical voices, 'cause they do their best to bring me down. When I'm alone with all these negative voices, I will need your help to turn them down, turn them round. I could be listening to a conversation, the story I'm not even in. These voices have their way when I'm unguarded. Suddenly I step in quicksand again. Once again, I'm in my shame spiral. I am glad that you've waded in. Don't leave me here with all these critical voices, 'cause they do their best to bring me down. When I'm alone with all these negative voices, I will need your help to turn them down, turn them around. All these judgments so incisive, voices left to their devices. This moment's narrative is a desperate plea for slack to be cut to me, cut to me. Don't leave me here with all these negative voices, 'cause they do their best to bring me down. When I'm alone with all these negative voices, I will need your help to turn them down, turn them round. So yeah, that was a really good one to listen to really bring all this in. So I'll just go back to that, what I just said earlier, sorry. So now we know when judgment is useful and when it isn't. How do we change? Mindfulness. Ta-da! The magic tool, right? Mindfulness can help with all this. To be more aware and mindful of your own thoughts and judgments and be kind. So mindfulness, paying attention to the present moment without judgment, or being in the now with kindness is another way I phrase it. So be kind to yourself. So when you feel these thoughts come into other people or to yourself, just so, oh, here I go again, I'm being a bit judgy. Is it really called for? Do you know what they're going through? Can I be kinder to myself? Can I be kinder to them? Because I heard another quote recently that everyone is doing their best. Whether you like to believe that or not with certain people. But everyone really is doing their best. Think of how we speak to ourselves and others. Your tone, your volume, is it critical? And be kind. So change that inner voice, that inner critic to your inner friend. How would you talk to your friend in this moment if she was having or he was having these thoughts? Speak softer. Speak kinder. Lower your tone, lower your volume. More soft, more kind. Come back to our anchor with kindness. So we can use the breath, use touch, use hand on your heart. Come back to your breath with kindness. This is a good one for me. It helps me embody a lot more by using touch. Excuse me. The more we notice judgments, the less they will occur or get caught up in them, similar to thoughts. The more we notice judgments, the less they will occur. Okay, so like I said, when you notice it, just notice it, be kind, let it go. And basically, we want to be seen, heard, and valued. That's what we want. We don't want to be judged. We don't want to judge others. So let's see, hear, and value others, and see, hear, and value ourselves. And just work with less judgment in our lives and find the joy open up, because when we're less contracted, we can open up. Yeah? So I think we have covered everything. What judgment is, when and how it begins, judging ourselves, and how mindfulness helps with it. So I hope you can be a lot kinder to yourself in going forward in whatever you're doing, wherever you're going, whoever you're meeting. But start with you, because that's what you can control. How you judge yourself or judge others. And let's turn that into more non-judgment of self and others. I hope it's helped. I hope it's brought you value. As always, I appreciate your likes, shares and subscribes. I'll be much grateful for it. Thank you so much. Much love. Bye for now.